All right, what's going on? Here we are, another episode of Iron Sharpens Iron. On this episode, I'm with my man Will, who has been kicking ass inside the Forge Father Foundation. It's been great having you on board because you are a fellow ex-college athlete like myself, college football player. So we got that connection right there. I know. When I originally talked to you, Will, kind of going through that phase of your life, which we'll definitely be able to discuss, but like football's done and then it's like, what now? You know what I mean? And then we get married, we get kids, and here we are today, right? Like it's just the craziness of what it is. But Will, thanks for coming on, man. Why don't you do kind of just a little quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, Will Fowler here, 29, just turned 29. Got a father. I got two daughters. I had two under two for a little bit, 2 years old and 8 months old. Ex-college athlete. I went to Morningside and Sioux City. Finally got our national championship this year.
Yep.
And just kind of busted my ass forever. That's all I ever knew was busting and working hard. And then life changed, like you said, and I kind of didn't know what my next championship would be.
True.
So I kind of lost my way. Children, if you don't have a structure to begin with, and then children come in there and it kind of throws you off big time.
Yeah. You kind of bring on a whole new identity. I remember when my first daughter was born, like I was, thrown for a loop because you got all sorts of me time. And granted, I mean, most of us are married before we have kids. And so, I mean, that's a change in itself, but like kids are a whole different story, man. So you go from, yourself having all this extra free time for yourself and being able to maintain, fitness and health and things like that. And then you get a kid coming into the world and things get crazy, man. So for you, up to this point, like what have your biggest wins been inside the Forge Father, man?
Biggest wins, consistent structure would be for me. Just knowing that I have a workout to do the next day, that's not something that I'm just kind of throwing together thinking of, has been the one. I think I missed one workout the entire 5 weeks, so that was good. So that was probably my big one and one of my stronger ones. And then just fitness wise, being able to do pull-ups again.
Yeah.
Those have always been, for me, one of my most difficult exercises. Squats and all that, and push-ups, bench, like things like that. The Olympic lifts have always been fine, but pull-ups have been difficult. I think when I started, I could do like 5 kind of like cheating type ones.
Yeah.
I think now I can probably do like 8, which, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's 8 from full, complete, strict, like no motion all the way up, which is awesome for me.
That's huge. The strength has gone up. How about like body fat?
So I wasn't able to get my actual test done, but just looking at me and the comments that I get, it's definitely gone down.
Yeah.
I've stayed consistent, but it's kind of realigned, I could say, because I know the strength is there. I can see it in my arms, in my face, and in my legs. The definition is there. Can feel like I used to only get it after working out. You kind of have that pump in the muscles, but mine are all a lot more firm as they used to be. I mean, they're still there, but I can just feel the constant tension.
Yeah.
My body temperature, it's like I'm always like hot person, and it kind of backed off a little bit, and now I can feel it a lot more. My metabolism has gone up. I can just feel it, my body temperature overall, and energy skyrocketed. Sure, like 100 more.
Yeah, that was kind of the big struggle for you coming in. Like your energy was just dragging ass all the time, right?
Big time. I mean, some of it, obviously, you can only control how much your daughter sleeps. And you're going through it. I mean, and she was sick and all that throughout a lot of the time here and hardly getting any sleep. And I feel completely different. Like I still have the energy to do what I do. I get home and nonstop doing everything I need to do because there's just shit all the time to do because of the whole. And I mean, I have the energy to do it and I'm ready to go. My wife gets home at like 9 o'clock at night from her work and we still have time to stay up and chat and do stuff instead of just being dead on the couch.
Good. Yeah, there's always like a big to-do list, so to speak, with, being a dad, you got all your responsibilities still, but then you got family responsibilities, and then you got to try to take time for you and your wife, your significant other, and that's balancing all that stuff out. That's the tricky part, right? And so going back to like one of your biggest wins that you mentioned is like just structure, having a set structure and kind of a plan of attack to your day. I know how important that is. Especially like you just mentioned before we got on this call, it's nap time.
Mm-hmm.
Any other dad that will be watching this, they know how important nap time is. Structured nap time. Like that was when we had our first daughter. Like I asked all my buddies, like, dude, like, got any specific tips or like things that you can give me to help me out? And they're like, set a routine. Like routine is like the biggest thing. Like put them to bed at the same time every night. Put them to nap same time, and they'll fall into that routine, and then it gives you a little bit more structure. Granted, you get kids that are sick, and that throws things off, and you just got to deal with it. But when primarily most of the time you have that structure and that routine, that's going to set you up for success, right? And so talk a little bit about like what your current structure is now and how you've made it work for you.
So my structure now, since my wife's work schedule is crazy every time, I'm the only one that can really have a consistent schedule. So I work out every day before I start work. So I have to leave the house by 7. So I usually get up like 5:30 now. I have to do some gratitude and some breathing. I actually used to do some meditation in college. I took a class, so that kind of is very helpful. I started doing that again, just the breathing. And then I hit my workout every morning. Tuesday, Thursdays are kind of the resting days, so those are usually a little later. I get up probably like 6 then. It's a little shorter time. But then I drive to work. It's kind of a nice little reflection time, and I do a lot more breathing during my drive because it's about 30 to 40 minutes, depending. Then I work all day. And the majority of the days I pick up my daughters from daycare around 5:30, and then it's kind of hellacious connection time until about 8:30 because that's their bedtime. And then wife is, if she's home, that's when we just spend our connection time. And right around 9, that's when I have my planning. It's usually 9 to 10 depending on the night, and not super structured with the planning, but it's more going through what's the day for her tomorrow, because hers is usually, that's way more inconsistent. So it's better for me to know what her pages and day looks like, because my day at work is always different, and it's kind of really hard for me to try to plan work wise.
Yeah.
And then Sundays are my food or fuel meal prep days.
Yeah.
Specifically nap time. I try to get them all going, and I eat real quick, and then I cook a whole bunch of food for the week.
Yeah.
And then try to plan out some dinners for the week too. I'm not your normal dad. I don't know how normal dad is, but I'm kind of like a mother role you type C. I cook all the dinner. I cook all the meals at our house. It's kind of how it always been in my family. All the men are the ones that cook all the food.
Really?
My dad, my brother. Yeah, it's just how my wife cooks too, and all that, but the majority of the time it's just us. It's always been that way. My mom taught me to cook when I was young, and I enjoyed it. We're the ones that always cook.
Cool.
It's easier for me because then I can control fuel wise big time.
Yeah.
It's helpful. It just makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. Nice. Good stuff, man. So Will, the structure, it's so huge, like just having that kind of idea of what's ahead so we can plan accordingly. I mean, that sets you up for, better success right there. And so before we started the Forged Father project, like, I guess before you started it, like where were you? Like what were the big pains that you were facing at the time that were holding you back?
Structure wise, I was doing kind of hit or miss workouts in the morning. They were quick ones. I actually had gotten some from you, some of the body weight ones, but they weren't. I couldn't quite complete them the best I could. I just wasn't able to do all the exercises, so it kind of gave me a little scapegoat to not always do them.
Mm-hmm.
Always scrambling out the door every day for work, so I'm not getting up every day, hit the snooze. like a million times. I mean, sometimes I still do. That's kind of one of my losses, you could say, but more consistent. I mean, then I would just scramble rush, not getting stuff done. And then by the time I get home, it's like no plan for dinner or anything like that, or I don't have food for the week at work. So I wasn't cooking or anything like that. When kids were napping, and I'd be just lazy and just sitting on the couch, just doing what I needed to do, and not getting my stuff done. The structure really helped, especially in the morning, just getting those things done and setting myself up for success during the day.
Yeah.
Big one.
It's huge, man. So what do you think the biggest change has been since starting? Like now that you're consistently prepared, you're taking the initiative, for you, like what do you think the biggest change has been that has caused this actual transformation?
The accountability, I think, with the group. I'm not the most active member in the group, but I check every day and I post my big wins. And still, obviously, it's a hard thing to get into and start. It's scared for sure.
Yeah.
You just got to jump in, but that's definitely, and then the consistency.
Yeah.
This comes through for me. That's really where it goes for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference maker right there, is just getting started. And like everybody is going to have that initial fear at the beginning, but it's just like you have to get started and you have to keep going, right? Because a lot of guys, they'll get started, they'll get derailed, something won't work as planned, and they'll just stop. And so they go back to square one, and they never build up that momentum that they need, right? And so, I mean, shoot, your results speak for themselves because you've taken the initiative, you've stayed consistent, and you've just have committed to the process basically. And here we are now. And so looking ahead, like what are your big visions? Like what's your big mission for yourself, man?
For the starters, I want to continue. I mean, at least the consistency for me, just continue the preparation and planning for the day, executing in the morning, doing my workout, staying consistent with that, and bringing my wife into it. She's starting to. She's coming around. She's wanted to do stuff. She talks about doing stuff. And yesterday I did my body weight 2.0 or follow up, and I told her, I'm like, you don't need any weights. These are just body weight. And she did it with me, and some of them were better than my starting numbers.
Oh shit. Nice.
And then so that was awesome. And then just keeping with the fuel too. Being hectic and having two little ones and not planning food makes it super, super easy to eat shit because it's out there, it's cheap.
Yep.
Everybody has their guilty pleasure. I mean, frozen pizzas, it take minutes, you throw them in, and you don't have to do anything other than continue to hang out with the kids.
Yep.
That's my big one. I'm planning and preparing for the week and every day, food and fuel wise, because I'm a college athlete, you're an ex-college athlete, you know how to manipulate your body weight pretty easily. I mean, it changes as you get older. It's not as easy to do it.
Yep.
You know what to eat, you know what eating is and what's right and what's not right. But just planning to continue to eat well is the big one, and continually executing for me.
Yeah.
Looking further out, the plan is this year, personally wise, my wife and I want to move back to the area, your area actually, and so that's by my family. So that's one for us. That's been going on. I think I started that process last November with like recruiter, all that. Kind of haven't really got other than that. And then big, physically wise, I need to, once the weather's a little better here and it's easier for me to run outside more consistently as our daughters get older, I want to get into a 5K. Actually one of the guys in the group that did the Forge Father, I think he started a week before me, Jason.
Yep.
His 400s are kick ass. And when I run mine, like I know it's not a 400, but it's like, shit, I can only run, it takes me 2 minutes to run a 400. I used to run it in like fucking 50 seconds. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, so that's kind of last year it was I wanted to do a 5K, and I just sat on my ass and I didn't work on it. I bought these shoes that I've actually started working out with. When I started the Forge Father, I bought this pair of these Asics probably 2 years ago, and I haven't worn them. And I said I'm not going to wear them until I start working out again. And I finally broke them out because I'm actually working out, and they're awesome running shoes. So I want to run a 5K.
Nice.
I haven't figured out a date, just because the moving wise, we have no idea when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen next month, or it can happen in 8 months.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them out here, which will be easy to sign up last minute.
Yeah.
But as the spring comes, I'll be working in more running. Wife's looking. She actually works at a resale shop, so we're trying to find if a nice treadmill comes in, something like that we can get in, since we really can't go to a gym.
Yep.
Well, that's my big ones. And then the Murph, I want to do that. I know my pull-ups I know realistically it's not going to happen with the pull-ups, but I can do modified ones. So that's another goal for me, is to complete the Murph.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I know as far as like a race goes, and you might know this already, but in July, we got the Warrior Weekend coming up out in Colorado. We all get together. We run that Spartan race out there. So there's Spartan Super. So it's 9 miles, 30 obstacles, and it's, in Colorado. So the altitude, a little bit of an extra challenge. You're not in the mountains, but you're at the, foot of the mountains basically. It's definitely a challenging race, man. Last year a bunch of us in the group got together and did it. We'll be doing it again this year. It's just a great weekend because we all get together. A lot of guys, we see each other online, we see each other inside the brotherhood, but then, actually meeting each other in person, it's that experience, and then you're building on that camaraderie and whatnot. So it's huge. It's just a great weekend, man. And also just a good event to just commit to, because you're going to have to continue to put forth the effort. You're going to have to continue to put forth the commitment, and it just gives you a purpose to dial in on the fuel, keep training hard, because you don't want to show up on race day and then get your ass whooped, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to get your ass whooped regardless, but it's like showing up on race day and being able to finish the race, right? So
yep, that's the one.
It's pretty exciting, man. So yeah, I would say in just like we work our missions and our goals, so to speak, inside the group, it's like you always set these big ones, and then we reverse engineer, right? And then that's where the planning and the preparation comes into play. It's like, okay, these are the steps that I need to take. So for you, it's like I get signed up for a 5K. That's like the first step towards, this big Spartan race thing. And so what do we need to do on a day-to-day basis to get ready for this 5K? Well, we need to have our food prepared. We need to train consistently. We need to, do what we're doing in the morning. Wake up at the same time every morning. Make sleep a priority when you can make it a priority. And we follow through. And the biggest thing that I've seen, Will, and this is always the most fulfilling on my end with the guys that come into this group. And I remember having this conversation with you when we first started. I was like, who do you see in the mirror right now, right? And you saw this guy that you didn't even fucking recognize when we first started. You're like, I don't know, man. Like, I used to be this college athlete, and, all this stuff happened, and I was in this different zone basically, and I've seen it like from your check-ins, from your consistency, just following up. Like, you become that guy again. You become a different guy. And that's essentially what it takes. Is before it was just like, you're the Will that was, I don't want to prepare my food. I'm just going to throw in a TV dinner or pizza. And that's how it is. And so now you've taken the initiative. And what I really like is, like, you cook for your family. Like, that should be a big, almost priority for you, in a sense. Like, you're the leader, you're the role model. Shoot, you have direct control over like how your family eats. So you can influence them. Like, you're cooking, where in some cases, our better half isn't on board. Like, there's guys in the group, their other half, she wants nothing to do with like the fitness side, which is interesting, because as they start to make a transformation, she sees the changes in, her hubby, and then she starts transferring over, like, hey, okay, I think I'll try this, healthier eating thing, and I'll start training more. It's like, that's what it's about, man, is being that catalyst for change, whether that's directly for people in your family or your friends. I mean, it's huge, man. And that's really what being a forged father is all about, right?
Definitely.
Up to this point, I mean, you've embodied that, and that's what's gotten you to this point, and will continue to push you forward, man. So I'm excited to see what we can achieve next, right? So
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's another big win, and you kind of brought it up for me. I didn't even really think about it. It's kind of a second nature now. It's just the whole leadership aspect for my family. I've been a leader because I've cooked before, but now I feel more confident in doing that, and I mean, family differently just because I feel better all the time, and I feel better about myself.
Heck yeah, man.
Just second nature now. I'm just controlling what everybody, not really controlling, but just guiding everyone and keeping them on board. And since the start, I told my wife about it, I'm going to start doing this. She's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then now, like last week, you kind of start seeing the difference and feeling the difference. And she's kind of like, all right, I want to do it. I'm with you type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Got her to do the old body weight gauntlet with you.
Yeah. She has to work this weekend, and she woke up this morning and she's like, I can't barely fucking move.
Yep. Yep.
Well, she's like, I haven't done a push-up since high school.
Yeah.
She's leader and all that, and she did like the knee push-ups, but she still did a shit ton of them. She's like, I'm so sick, I can barely move.
Oh yeah, I bet.
We just got to keep doing it. Right, today's on Monday, we got to keep doing it.
Yep. That's right, man. Awesome, brother. Well, so what's one big thing, I guess, big aha or big takeaway that you would like, or I guess a breakthrough? We're always talking about breakthroughs inside the brotherhood. So for you, if there's one big breakthrough that you wanted to share, what would that be, man?
I guess the big breakthrough I had, kind of just looking back at my 2018 review, is actually starting this and executing and following through and not falling off. That's my biggest breakthrough, is consistently executing, and not giving up. My self-speak or internal talk, however you want to talk about it, is probably 180, and not 180 because I wasn't horribly negative all the time, but it's probably like 160.
Yeah.
That's my big one going into exercise, working out. So, I mean, besides the group, I'm like a lone wolf with the group. So I do my workouts by myself in my mudroom. And that self-speak would be, before it was just getting through things, and it's just like, oh shit, man, you sucked, whatever, you're doing horrible, whatever. And it's like, now it's like, all right, I got one set left, let's fucking go, keep doing it. Looking to just think about what you're doing this for, who you used to be. You can do better. You're doing it for them, like my daughters and my wife, like just pushing myself through. That's probably my big breakthrough. Internal speak is phenomenal now.
It's awesome, man. Happy to hear that, brother. Well, good stuff, Will. Again, I'm proud of you, man. The progress that you made up to this point, it's been awesome. And really, we've laid the foundation. So now it's now time to kind of capitalize on that. We've put in the effort, we put in the consistency, and now we just take to the next level, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome, brother. Good stuff.